Hello and welcome back to GarageBand Weekly. This is episode 3, and this is our show all about GarageBand here on Studio Live today. Hello, if it's your first time here, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. I do that through tips and tricks and tutorial videos, and GarageBand, especially on the iPhone or the iPad, is one of the platforms that I use probably more than any other platform. What do we have on the show today? We've got some news and notes here. We'll be talking about connecting to an external screen, the importance of labeling your tracks, and a new live looper from Audio Kit. In my rant of the week, I'm talking about feedback and how to provide feedback to other folks when they're creating music. Tip of the week, we're talking about mouses or mices or mices. We've got a plugin of the week and also a great resource. Somewhere else you can go to check out GarageBand content on the internet. Hello to the folks that we have here live. We've got Jade Starr, Harold Gilchrist is here. We've got Abentura, Goran Larson, David Anthony, Monster Cat Video, Benedict Stewart, Mr. Clado, a lot of folks here saying g'day. So if you are here live on Facebook or YouTube, then give me a shout. Tell me where you're dialing in from, and if you have any questions or comments as we go through the show, let me know. We are here live, as I said. It is a Monday morning here in sunny Adelaide, South Australia, and it is the afternoon in the US and the evening in the UK and Europe. So wherever you are, I hope you're having or had a good weekend. Let's jump into the news and notes. Now, there hasn't been anything spectacularly new, no new updates, no major new developments in the world of GarageBand, except that it is a new year. So it is 2020. This is the first show of 2020. So an opportunity for all of us to hit reset and to start creating more in GarageBand. Now, one of the things I get asked a lot about with GarageBand and with iOS in general is how do we project our iPhone or iPad to a larger screen? So there's a couple of ways we can do this. And I didn't have my props prepared, which I totally should have, but let's see how quickly I can maneuver on the fly and get it. No, it's not within arm's reach. Yes, it is. Okay. So the number one way you can do is to use one of these suckers. This is a Lightning to HDMI adapter. Now, the big problem with this is that when you plug it into your Lightning port and then you plug it out into your monitor or your TV screen to get a bigger GarageBand, that's all very cool, but you can't then connect up any other USB devices because there's no way to connect this and, say, a USB audio interface or a mini keyboard or anything wired. You can connect wireless stuff, but if you want to connect wired, I just dropped that in my cup of coffee, legitimately. There you go. There's the coffee and there's the adapter. These adapters are not cheap, so don't drop them in your cup of coffee because they're about, what did this cost me? $60 Australian. And it may never be the same again. Oh, man. I did the same thing yesterday. I dropped a piece of bagel directly into my coffee. I was eating a delicious bagel, and the very last piece, I was like, piece of last bagel, and dropped straight into coffee. So clearly I cannot be trusted with hot beverages. So that is one way to do that. And if you want to buy a secondhand one that may or may not work anymore, hit me up. The other way that you can go, which is obviously safer because it doesn't require any dongles, is to use AirPlay. So you can AirPlay to a Mac, you can AirPlay to an Apple TV. So you can Apple TV plugged in to your TV in your monitor. You can do that. And what I use for my PC is something called Reflector 3, which is a great little app. It costs about $20, and it basically creates the ability to AirPlay to a PC. So PCs don't support AirPlay natively. That's a way you can do it. Well, that was an expensive segment. Let's move on, shall we? Over on GarageBand Users, so the great Facebook group called GarageBand Users. Hello, shout out to all the great admins and moderators and users over there. More than 5,000 of them over there now. There was a great post this week from Teresa Marie, and she was talking about the importance of labeling your tracks. And I thought I'd talk briefly about this, that when you are creating in GarageBand, and I do this all the time, if you get going and you start creating, you'll get a bunch of tracks, and the tendency is that you just want to create the next track and the next track and the next track, and you don't go back and label the tracks as you're going along. And this can make it really difficult. I'll just find this track and see if this might be Is this my track or is this someone else's track? But yeah, you get all these. You get like classic clean, you get audio recorder, you get all the names of your tracks that are just the defaults. And what Teresa was saying is that you then don't know which is your lead vocal, which is your backing vocal. You don't know which guitar is which is high, which is low. Yeah, so basically, the simple solution is when you create a new track, spend what 7 seconds or so tapping on the track. So you're in GarageBand, you can on iOS, you tap on the track, you tap it again, you tap rename, you type in a new name, you hit done, and then you forever know what that track is. This is a do as I say, not as I do thing because I honestly don't do it as much as I should. But maybe 2020, maybe I turn over a new leaf and I go with labeling my tracks because I know it causes me grief, and for other folks, it's a challenge as well, making sure your tracks are labeled. All right. Number 3 item for this week. Now, I did an interview with JP from John Paul Music last night, my time. So about 12 hours ago? Not even 8 hours ago, just before I went to bed. And now we're doing the show here. And he was talking about looping, live looping. And I found it fascinating because I don't do live looping and I've never really done it. And the few times I've tried, I've failed dismally. But there is a new app from Audio Kit, the L7 Live Looper. And I wanted to put it out here because I know a lot of people love the Audio Kit Synth 1, the Audio Kit D1, and now we've got the Audio Kit Live Looper. And it is only, what did I see? It was $5.99 Australian. So I think it's only about $3 or $4 US to pick it up. I might have to pick it up and take a look, I think, because I haven't really delved into a lot of the Audio Kit stuff, but I know a lot of people using, especially Synth 1, and finding it really, really cool. So something to consider. We've got some tips here. Sometimes I use AirPlay, but there is a huge delay. Yeah, really good point. And I did mean to actually call out that as well, is that the problem with AirPlay is you're going to get some latency or some lag or some delay between when you're touching the screen or when you're playing, when you're seeing the audio play, and when the audio and video is actually playing back. And it's not massive, but even a few milliseconds can cause issues. So if you try to time things, if you're trying to play along, if you're trying to do other things on the big screen, that can be a problem. And that's where a cable, a non-soggy one that hasn't been dropped in coffee, is a better idea generally than your air playing for that reason. And we've got I drop things in liquid all the time. Yeah, it's not good. I cracked my phone today, so I put a new screen protector on so I wouldn't cut myself. Yeah, new screen protectors are good. Bubba, hello to you. Pete, all hello. Hope you're doing well. Let's continue on here. We've got my rant of the week. I'm going to need a sip of slightly tainted coffee. And then we're going to jump into, it doesn't taste right now. It tastes more metallic-y. We're going to jump into my rant of the week. And again, we need those musical stings. Rant of the week. Ripping off the Beatles for things like that. So what is my rant this week? It's all about feedback. And what does feedback have to do with GarageBand? Well, everything, because we're all creating music using GarageBand and we are all at different levels. And especially with an app or a piece of software like GarageBand, everyone is at a different level. And this is important to understand because a lot of folks will share their music. I encourage people to share music. You would have heard me rant about create, record, release. It's not on this version, but it's on the old version of my t-shirt. It actually just said create, record, release underneath. So I want people to be releasing and sharing their music. Here's the problem though, is that sometimes when people share their music, the feedback that they get seems to be positioned to pull them down as opposed to build them up. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's a way to provide feedback. And first, let me say up front, I am not someone who wants everything to be like, there's a thing I call American Idol syndrome, where people are not told that they're crap, or it's not that they're crap. They're not told that their music is crap or their singing is crap. So they go on thinking that they're amazing because their parents just keep saying, oh, go for it. You're amazing. Their friends are too scared to tell them the truth. So they think they're amazing. They go on national TV and they completely humiliate themselves. I don't want that to be the case for anyone. At the same time, when people are starting out with music creation, it's a hard thing. You're putting yourself on the line, you're sharing your innermost, like potentially it's your innermost fear, especially if you're singing and you're putting your vocals into a song. Like two of the biggest fears that we have are judgment of others, fear of failure, and public speaking. So if we're having this fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of public speaking, basically putting your music out there with you singing on it is both of those things. So for people that are doing that, A, kudos, keep doing what you're doing. And B, if you are someone who is giving feedback and you are trying to help someone, the best way to help them is to tell them what they can work on, absolutely, but do it in a way that's going to be kind and that's going to build them up. Just think before you type, think before you speak, and say, how is this going to be interpreted? Will this person take this as feedback that's going to help them? It's going to make them continue creating music, continue improving, continue growing, or will this be something that will make them feel bad, feel degraded, feel like they're being talked down to? If it's the latter, maybe just move on. And this is the thing, you don't, unless someone specifically comes to you and says, if someone comes to me and says, Pete, give it to me exactly, tell me it like it is. I need to know the exact truth about this song. Please give it to me all guns. Then that's fine. I will say, sure, here you go. Here's what I love, this, and this, and here's what you need to work on. This. Because that's totally fine. They've given me that permission. But if someone just says, here's my song, tell me what you think, err on the side of humanity and humility. So err on the side of if it really doesn't agree with you, then sometimes it's easier and better to just move on as opposed to giving your opinion. Now, I know plenty of people are going to sit there and probably comment on this and say, but that's just the way I am. I tell it like it is. I call a spade a spade. Yeah, that's all fine. But we are trying to have a society here where sometimes you can't tell 100% truth all the time. If you want to tell 100% truth all the time, then that's your prerogative. But I think that's a lot of the problems that we have at the moment is that people are, again, don't want you to sugarcoat things. Don't just placate to people and say, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. People see through that anyway. It's not necessary. But especially when someone's starting out, if they're sharing music, then please just use a little bit of humility. Think about the fact that these are people and we want people to keep making music. Too many people, and this is my problem, too many people have stopped making music because of the opinion of strangers on the internet that they don't know or care about. So flip it around. If you are the person and you are getting these sort of comments about your music, just keep working on it. Keep creating music. You don't need to stop based on the opinion of like one or two people on a post. Anyway, that is my rant of the week, and that is how I feels. Let's move on here to the plugin of the week. The plugin of the week this week is a bit standard, and you might be thinking, Pete, this is going to be a boring one, but it's actually one of the plugins that I use more than any others, and it might surprise you, and that is the Overdrive plugin. So here in GarageBand, we'll open up my GarageBand again. I use Overdrive on a whole lot of tracks. I use it mostly on vocals, but I also use it on guitars and other tracks. And the reason that I like Overdrive is that it actually just creates a little bit of crunch. I'm just going to come in here and find it. So it's one of our standard effects here. So here's GarageBand here. One of our standard GarageBand effects is your Overdrive. And you can dial in a little bit of drive there. There's a tone dial there, and there's output. So it's one of the simpler plugins. Now, when people think Overdrive, they think overdriven guitars. They think of plugging in a guitar to a pedal and cranking it out and loud distortion. But Overdrive can actually add a little bit of just sort of harmonic distortion. It can just rough up a vocal a little bit, especially vocals. If you're using good quality, here's the thing. If you're using less quality gear, so if you're recording using like the microphone in your iPhone or using a headset mic or something like that, you might actually be already getting a bit of distortion, and that might actually be kind of roughing up your tracks and making them sound good out of the box. If you're not, the problem is sometimes some of the best preamps and microphones or even entry-level stuff can be so clean that it's almost missing something. So you need to give it a little bit of roughness, especially if you're doing a rock vocal or a rap vocal or hip hop or something like that. I did a song last week called Imagination, and I put quite a bit of overdrive on my vocals because Otherwise, it's just like my speaking voice. And if I'm doing this, I don't want to add overdrive to doing a spoken word or doing a show like this, but I definitely want it on my vocals when I'm singing, because again, it's just going to add some flavor, a little bit of harmonic distortion, a little bit of something interesting. That's what we like to go with. So, yeah, like I say, a very simple tip of the week this week, but yeah, grab your distortion or grab your overdrive plugin and just put a little tiny bit on there. Do it a little bit at a time, and you'll be amazed at how much that improves your vocals. It really is going to make a difference on your vocal tracks. Talked a lot of vocals this week, haven't we? It's not all about the vocals. It's also I know that a lot of folks make instrumental music as well, and that's totally cool as well. And again, you can use this on your synths, you can use it on your drums, you can use it on anything. But yeah, overdrive for the win. Hello, Gino Teresa. Am I late? No, you're not super late. Gino wants to thank Jade for the thumb jam. It's great. It's got cello, violin, trumpet. All the strings sound great. Brass articulation is amazing. I played the trumpet, so I can testify. There you go. So this was on, I think, yesterday's show. Jade was suggesting to Gino that he check out Thumb Jam. I've also downloaded it, but yeah, I haven't played around with it yet. But I think I need to soon. It looks like a very cool app, and I'll be testing it out there. David Anthony said, trying to get feedback on Reddit GarageBand subreddit is like pulling teeth. Well, see, that's the other thing. Like when I talk about feedback and maybe not getting the best feedback of all, maybe it's better than getting nothing. Like, I think it's an interesting question. I might even ask this over on my channel, over on my channel. This is the channel on Studio Live today, just to say, if you share music, do you prefer to get negative feedback or no feedback? Like, do you want the crickets or do you want the haters? And I don't know. I think I'd almost prefer, because here's the thing, that there is also an element of truth. Whether people position their feedback in a positive way, whether people are just telling it like it is and just want to put stuff out there to hurt people, there's always an element of truth. So here's an example. For the longest time, I would get comments on my videos about them being too long and me ranting and me taking a long time to get to the point. And I started getting like genuinely offended. I was like, who are these people telling me that I should get to the point? And they put like those passive aggressive comments like, the video starts at 2 minutes 14, basically saying, you ranted for 2 minutes, Pete. We don't need that first 2 minutes of audio and video. And I was getting worked up about this until I actually went back and rewatched some of my videos. And I'm just like, for goodness sake, buddy, just like move on. And it was the same with it's the same with the feedback on my songs. Sometimes, yeah, like most of the time, people give me really constructive feedback about it. So Jude, one of our moderators here, one of my recent songs, I did a sort of rap, a hip hop kind of vibe in the verses, and he gave really good feedback. He said, "Yep, really like the vibe of this, like the pre-chorus, like these things." He said, "If I was you, I'd re-record the vocals because your timing was a bit off in like the second verse, in a couple of places." And I had already sort of thought that. And getting that feedback, I didn't go, "Oh no, that's terrible." I went, "Oh, cool." Like if a listener is actually noticing that, then that's a good thing. Now, if that feedback had been, your timing is crap, you don't know how to rap, hey, that rhymes. See, I do know how to rap and rhyme. I rhyme all the time. That's all I got. Then yeah, maybe it wouldn't have had the same effect, but maybe it's the same information. So maybe you got to look past the actual way and the intent of the feedback, and actually just say, is there some truth in there? Yeah, maybe there is. Anyway. But yes, the Reddit. Hello to my friends over on the Reddit subreddit. Yeah, it can be hard. The problem is the noise. The signal to noise ratio is really hard in a lot of these forums. And the reason I like Facebook groups is you kind of get rewarded for however much you put in. And again, without going on a semi sub rant, when you're sharing stuff online, a lot of people will put their songs out there. They'll share their song on like 5 different groups, and then they don't get any feedback and they wonder why. And then they come to me and say, "Pete, no one's listening to my song and giving me feedback." And I say, "How many other people's songs have you engaged with in the last week?" And they go, "None." And I say, "Okay." So what you want is you want to put your stuff out there and have 10 people engage with your stuff. Well, why don't you go out there and engage with 10 people's music? You're going to build relationships. You're going to help the algorithm push your stuff to more people because it's going to see that you are a two-way player, right? So yeah, if you want to get exposure anywhere, be part of the community. Don't be someone who comes in and says, here's my song, please give me feedback, and then walk away for the next month until you have another song. Again, people are going to say, well, we don't have the time to engage with that. We're going to engage with these other people who are providing feedback on our songs as well. So I've got a couple. Yeah. So Jade Star says, as a long-time trainer singing teacher, many times instead of giving feedback publicly, I'll message them privately and help out. Sometimes the public arena can be hard to offer the right help. Yeah, 100%. Excuse me, 100%. Sometimes it is better to give private feedback as opposed to public, because you don't know how people are going to react to public feedback. And again, think about a couple of things: the intent of the person, where they're at in their journey, and then have they actually asked for that? Is it solicited or unsolicited? If they've said, give me your honest opinion, 100% balls and all, then go your hardest. If they haven't, maybe err on the side of caution to start with. Hello, Daniel, Dan Olafson. Good to see you here. Like having you on board. Let's hope ThumbJam add AUV3 soon. Yeah, so ThumbJam is an audio unit plugin, not an audio unit. What is it? Inter-app audio plugin at the moment. AUV3 would be awesome. Daniel says, screw people, your videos are epic. Yeah, but some of them are too long, especially the older ones. I honestly listen to some and go, Pete, you could have done this in like 5 minutes and you spent 20 minutes ranting about it, buddy. Well done. Let's have a look here. So Jade, constructive feedback tick. S word canning someone cross. Yeah, agree. Earth says good advice. David Anthony, thumbs up. Yeah. So Jade says it's an odd one feedback. If people ask for it, I may offer. If people just post songs, if I like, I'll say so. When I upload songs, I'm rarely seeking feedback, to be honest, because I have an idea of where I'm going. Yeah, I'm going, but open to suggestions. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. I don't think that everyone's looking for the ultimate feedback, and not everyone's looking for some people just want to share their music because they're like, hey, I've got a song, I'm sharing it. But again, I don't think we need to get to the point where people have to say, here's my song and I want no feedback, or I want exactly this amount of feedback. But yeah, like everyone wants to get acknowledged. Everyone likes the likes. Even if we say we don't like the likes, everyone likes the likes, myself included. Everyone likes the comments. Everyone likes to be engaged with and engage with other folks. We are social creatures, even those of us who are introverted and sit in our little audio caves most of the time. We are generally social creatures. Excuse me. See, I haven't had enough coffee now because I'm a bit scared to drink it, because if you missed it, if you've come late, I dropped my HDMI adapter in my coffee cup about 5 minutes in. So I think I'm going to have to go make a fresh cup after the show. Righty dokey. Can't get rid of the frog in my throat. Let's finish up here with our GarageBand resource of the week. So this is one of my favorite GarageBand plays. I didn't put these in. Last week I put them in the description. This week I didn't, because people just went to the description and they spoiled the fun. But this is a dude who I've been following for a couple of years now. He creates great GarageBand and songwriting videos focused around GarageBand for Mac. So I know I talk a lot about iOS. I know there's a lot of GarageBand Mac users out there. And this is a man called Dean Davis at the Songwriting Studio. Not only a very talented musician, very talented songwriter, very talented educator, but just a genuinely nice dude. And I rate being a nice dude or dudette well above any technical abilities, any ability to teach and pass on information, because I learn better from people that I can relate with and people that I like and people that feel like they're just having a conversation with you, right? So the problem with a lot of folks in the songwriting space and in the music education, not the problem, but the challenge I have is that sometimes you'll be watching a tutorial and it feels like you already feel inferior because you don't have the level of knowledge to understand what they're talking about. So the reason I like Dean is that he explains things in plain, simple English. He makes zero expectations that you're going to know anything about anything, and he just takes it from square one. But at the same time, he manages to introduce pretty complex situations and advice that are really going to help your music out. So he's got a lot of great tutorials over there. And I'll say the same about Dean as I say about Patrick over at GarageBand Guide. I don't even use GarageBand on Mac. Yeah, I can sit down and watch a 10-minute Dean Davis video because he's a bit wacky, he's a bit entertaining, he doesn't take himself too seriously. And like I say, he's a genuinely nice dude. So yeah, head over to the Songwriting Studio. I'll throw it down in the description here so that there's a link that you can jump over to if you're watching on the replay, and go and check out Dean's stuff. It is very, very cool. That is going to do it for this week. I hope you got some value. I know I got a bit ranty in this one. The rant probably took up 15 minutes of the 25 minutes that we talk here. But yeah, it's an important topic I wanted to talk about. I know that a lot of people struggle with feedback, with receiving feedback, with giving feedback. And I'm not telling you how to suck eggs. If you want to, you live your life the way you want to. You do you. But when I say that, when I say you do you, I'm generally referring to staying in your lane a little bit as well. So making sure that whatever you want to do is cool, but as soon as it's having an impact on other people in a negative, in a hostile, and a discriminatory way, especially anything related to a personal attack, that's just 100% not cool. Yeah, you can be a bit of a dick about things and say, hey, I didn't like that song, or your song sucks, and we'll all move past that. As soon as it goes past that into any sort of personal attack not related to the music, yeah, just don't go there. It's not worth it. It's not going to work for you, and you'll just find yourself sad and lonely in a cave making the most awesome music in the world because you know how to do everything. Okay, I'm getting way off track, so we're going to move on. Thank you. If you did find some value in this one, hit the like button. That just tells me that you want me to continue doing these sort of shows. Head over to studiolivetoday.com to follow me on all of the different social platforms. And of course, you can comment if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. I'm always happy to take on any feedback you have. Drop that down in the comments. Thanks again, folks. I'll see you next time.